need a certain bet to get home, they'll probably be a good team to bet on. But I'll keep it real with you. I would stay away from them on the road because they've been absolutely awful on the road the last few years. So that's something that you really do have to look at. And then you have to look at the fact that them playing against certain teams in the Eastern Conference could be a factor into them, getting absolutely cooked in some nights as well too. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. But that's going to be the Warriors preview for you. All right, so we move forward. Let's go ahead and talk about the new world champion, Tim Tszyu. Tim Tszyu, fresh off of winning that WBO 154 title against Brian Mendoza in his home country. The fight was in Australia. It was a monster event in Australia. We already know it was on Sunday. It was during the day of all things as well too. So it was a big deal in Australia. You know what I mean? It was like a national day. You know what I mean? And Tim Tszyu is a very, very popular fighter in that country, and he was able to prevail again and show that, he's very worthy of a title date with Charlo. So, there's a lot of things. Charlo, male Charlo, big Charlo, twin Charlo, puppy child Charlo, whatever. But, what you call it, Charlo is still the standard at 154. Let's not play, okay? And Tim Tszyu is a really good fighter. He could be great. But Tim Tszyu knows that you're biting off a little bit more than you can chew fighting against Charlo. But the way that he's going about his business to fight Charlo, you have to respect it. He's very confident that he can beat Charlo. And you know what? His father is very confident that he can beat Zab Judah. So you can't deny the Tszyu bloodline and their hunger to try to win big fights. And that's exactly what he wants to do. He already said he doesn't care about belts. He just wants to fight Charlo. And that's something that fans can get behind because a lot of guys just cherry pick until they have to fight the real guy. And then a lot of times that real guy has already been washed up. He's already been washed up, dried out, and he's just coming for a check. Or when they get to this guy, they've beaten up on so many bums that they can't match that skill level of that superior fighter. They thought they were a superior fighter, but they were really just a really good fighter compared to this superior fighter. Kind of sounds like Spence and Crawford, but that's not really the case. That fight is a little different. You know what I mean? I think that fight's more about the moment and who rose to the moment and who didn't. Really, in reality, because in a real sense, before we went to that fight, it was 1A and 1B. Let's keep it real. All right. But when it comes down to this, Tim Tszyu has put his hat in the ring pretty much for those fights with Charlo, Crawford, Spence, because you just don't have to do the fight in America. You can do the fight in Australia and make even more money. That's the whole thing. He's an international star. He's attractive. You know what I mean? So Tim Tszyu has really done the right thing with his resume. He's made himself somebody you want to watch. Straight up. People stayed up late to watch Tim Tszyu fight this fight. Tim Tszyu's fight started at almost damn near 11 o'clock in the Cali. I live in Cali. You know what I mean? So that's how much you want to watch a Tim Tszyu. You'll stay up and watch Tim Tszyu. You know what I mean? And Tim Tszyu has passed that test. Now he can come back to America after these 2 successful pay-per-views, and then people know who he is. And he said he'll be back in Vegas for a fight. And the idea is he'll be fighting Charlo. And I think that at the end of the day, Charlo does owe him the opportunity to have this fight because he's been chomping at the bit for the last 2 years. He took all the necessary steps to become the mandatory for Charlo. He took all the proper steps to put himself in position to be a marketable fighter in the United States of America. So everything is making a whole lot of sense for Tim Tszyu at this point. And I truly do see another great champion in boxing. He might not be able to get those 3 guys that I mentioned, but he's much better than the rest of them. And right now at 154, after Charlo, who's better? Really, who's better? But if he doesn't get Charlo, I would love to see him get Brian Castano, because beating Brian Castano in a very, I would say in an emphatic fashion would really get people, hyped up for him to fight Charlo. So if he can't get this fight with Charlo, try to get the fight with Brian Castano, the guy who thought he was the best fighter at 154. So with that, we'll go ahead and we'll take our final commercial break. And when I get back, we're going to jump into talking tickets. So you guys stay tuned. This is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop Dibiase, the Primetime Capper.
Now you and your friends can compete in the sport of kings and win big with Stable Duel. Get the app, pick your horses, and get in on the thrill of horse racing with daily games competing against other players. Bring home the glory and the cash.